Hello and welcome to Magic is Real, the podcast where we talk about all things metaphysical and spiritual. I'm Shannon Torrance. I'm your host. I am a psychic medium, and today I am very happy to have with me Nancy Thames. Is that how you pronounce it?
It's
Thames?
Thames, like the Thames River in
Like the
England.
Thames River.
Yeah.
I should know that. I've lived in Europe. Nancy Thames is a former Department of Defense employee and a lifelong contactee of interdimensional extraterrestrial beings, has emerged as a significant voice in the realm of alien disclosure and spiritual awakening. Her journey, marked by personal struggles, transformed profoundly through her continuous extraterrestrial encounters. These experiences, initially suppressed, were eventually embraced as Nancy began to understand their purpose in her life and for humanity. She has come to the decisive conclusion: it is time for disclosure. Nancy, thank you so much for joining us today, joining me, and then for sharing the insights that you're about to share with my audience as well.
More than happy to. Yes.
Thank you. So I'd just like to start by talking about you. Now, your experiences started very early on. I normally ask people about their backgrounds and how their upbringing, and I have you on the show because I tend to focus on near-death experiences, but I've come to learn, having had my own encounter as a child, which we'll talk about, that it's one and the same. I used to only believe in the spiritual side and not necessarily the UFO side. And now I realize, oh, it's all just one system. So I'd love to hear about you and who you are, where you come from, and how this all began for you.
Well, like I said, and like you've said, I am a lifelong contactee. And throughout my life, I have gained different knowledge of understanding the purpose of all this. You know, a lot of people get caught up with the abductee stories and never want to pursue it any further. In my case, I've experienced extreme fear. And what I realized is if I wanted more conscious time to understand the purpose of all this, I had to face my fears. So I worked on that. And by doing that, and it wasn't easy and it didn't happen overnight. I'm 64 years old. It's taken me a long time to get to this point of total understanding. And they did give me a Kundalini awakening about 2 years ago. And when they did that, that basically opened my subconscious up into my human consciousness. So everything that's happened to me, good or bad, I understand now. It all served a purpose to make me who I am today. And that's basically what's happening to humanity. Everything in our past has made all us human beings who we are today. And we are going through an evolutionary process right now, an ascension, whatever you want to call it. But this is why the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials are here, because we are ascending. We are becoming more aware of the world around us. There's more going on that we can physically see in our 3D realm. And we're finally becoming to the understanding, and our science is telling us that all living creatures on this planet are living conscious beings. So we're in the process of learning our connections with our planet Earth, our connections with all living creatures on this planet that we have taken for granted for, we have abused. And that's why our environment is the way it is. So, and also we are going to learn our true origins. We are also going to learn why we chose to come to Earth. Most people don't even remember, but all of us made a choice to be here at this time, to be a part of this process. This is something that was planned long ago and has been in the making for a very, very long time. And extraterrestrials and interdimensionals and our planet Earth and all living creatures on our planet have been waiting for us to wake up, come out of our programmed brains, come out of our coma, and understand we are very unique and we have a lot to offer to ourselves, our future generations, and how we can change the world for our future. We are the generation that the world, our planet, the universe has been waiting on. We are the disclosure. Human beings are the disclosure. We are going to figure these things, and nobody has to believe anything I say. I recommend look within, go within and find your soul self. I figured out I am not the Nancy Thames that the world around me created. I am Nancy Thames who came here to Earth to make a change for humanity. I'm not here to play in the programming games. I'm here to help humanity wake up and end this and realize that these old ways of living and thinking no longer serve us. We are here to serve a higher purpose, and we all are the disclosure.
Thank you. That I really appreciate everything that you said, and I asked you to be on the show specifically because I know that there are so many people that I know they say they've had UFO encounters and they kind of come off as, I'm just going to say, a little kooky or maybe mentally ill. And
Absolutely.
same in the spiritual community. And I really want there to be a grounded discussion of these things because look, years ago I would have thought you were nuts. I would have thought all of this was nuts, but I now have a complete understanding and I'm really seeing how what you're saying, as much as it sounds crazy, is so resonant and it's so, to me, true again. And I love that you said you don't have to believe it. It's okay.
I
I'm just
mean,
sharing. Yeah.
this is an individual spiritual evolution, and we will all wake up at different times. And dimensions are not physical places. These are higher levels of consciousness. So people run around saying this stuff like, well, part of my family is just not going to ascend with the rest of us. That's not the way the universe works. We are all going through an ascension. We are all a part of this. Nobody will be left behind. It just might take them longer to understand and figure all this out. And that's okay. We all came here for our own spiritual plan and growth. So we have to work within. Once we work within, it will reflect outwards around other people. They will take notice of it, see you having a higher frequency, see you being a more happy, a more vivacious, loving person, see the choices that you're making, and they will pick up on this. It will be just like the common cold and spread throughout humanity. And these things cannot happen overnight because it's just like at our creation. Everything was done in a beautiful design. It has to be done in a very slow way because it is about all of the world. This is a worldwide phenomenon. This is not about me. This is not about the United States or certain countries. It has to be done so that our brains can understand these things. It has to be done in a way that we understand and know within ourselves, so when we get to this point, the way that they've explained it to me, it's kind of like going up a ladder, our DNA ladder. We're going up. And as we do, negativity, warlike ways, materialism, these things will tend to fall off. Maybe not 100%, but we will learn from being in a higher frequency that these negative old ways, warlike ways, negativity, not seeing the beauty in things will fade off and change. And we will learn to be better human beings. Like I said, it won't happen overnight, but it has to start within. We have to be the change that we want to see in the world, and it happens within.
Yeah. I would love to know more. I'd love to talk more about that.
Sure.
And I, I'm trying to figure out the order of things. How did you become introduced to this understanding in the first place?
Throughout my life, I'm a lifelong contactee with interdimensionals and a lot of extraterrestrials. And throughout my life, they have given me just enough information to help me, but never so much that it would explode my mind, because it's just as important that I have my human experience. I'm a grandmother, I'm a mother, I'm a friend, I'm an aunt, I'm all these things. These things are just as important as anything else. So our mental health and our well-being is very important. So that's why these things have to be done in a slow process. So when I was 30 years old, I witnessed my two sons having their first contact. And I was overwhelmed. I was scared. I was angry. I was everything that you could think of. I did not understand. But they wanted me to see this. They put me in a sleep paralysis and I could not speak. but I watched the whole thing. And then the minute that they walked off with them, I blacked out and didn't wake up till the next morning. And then when I did, of course, they were safe and sound in their bed and had no memory of what had occurred at all. So I did not make a big deal out of it or anything with them. They were very young. There was no point in that. And at that point, I didn't understand everything. I was angry and upset. So when I got home, we happened to have been on a vacation at Key West, and this occurred right on the beach, right on the ocean. So when I got home, I asked them to please come and explain to me why this is happening to me. What is the purpose? What is the mean? Why me? Why my children? And I'm not a person that claims that I can call them down. I don't do things like that. I have so much love and respect for them. And I feel like they're not here to entertain us. This is an individual thing that we all need to work out within ourselves, until we experience it. You're never really truly going to believe these things. So you have to work within and want these things. So basically, when they came and got me, they took me before a group of elders, and these elders were interdimensionals, and they were from many different races representing their race. And I asked them, why is this happening to me? And they explained to me that I had made a choice to be a part of this before I came to Earth. And this was the reason that, I was part of a process of helping humanity wake up and understand the misinformation, understand the purpose of all this. So throughout my life, it has been a preparation to get me to this point, so that when I talk to people, I truly believe what I'm saying. And I'm speaking to you from my heart. And I don't care if anybody believes me. I don't suggest that you do. I suggest that you look within. And when you pull your subconscious into your human consciousness, this subconscious knows all things. And I do this on a daily basis, asking my subconscious to help me to understand the changes in the world around me, help me to understand how to answer people when they ask me these tough questions, because it is strange, it is foreign, it is scary. These things are natural human responses. So, and I have experienced pretty much all of these things so that I can address these things. And I am not bragging. I'm a person that, for me to walk in my shoes, I need to know what I'm talking about. I need to experience it. So I've experienced a lot of different things, and I understand that we all probably have it. We're just not making the connections.
Absolutely. Yeah. As a psychic medium, I relate with that very much too. I started studying to prove it to myself that it was real,
Yeah.
because I was always really interested in it. I saw some very convincing evidence of it, but I thought, if I can learn to do this and I can see it firsthand, then I'll know it's real and it's not just magical thinking. With you, this started very young for you, didn't it, when you were a child?
Yes, they showed me a vision of myself being born, coming into the planet Earth. I was an interdimensional being before I came here. So there's probably others like me. I don't know this for a fact. I do not claim to know everything, but I do know that through my eyes, they have had the true experience of understanding what it's like to be a human being on this planet. And it's not fun and games. It is not easy. And throughout my life, when I've had personal struggles, and I've had many, just like anybody else, going through traumatic divorces, two of them, fighting over children, all these different things. And at points when I would be really down and say, oh, this is too much. This cannot be what I was put here on this planet to go through. And they would come to me and they would say, if it ever gets to be too much for you here on Earth, you can always come home. And to be honest with you, I heard exactly what they were saying, but it did not register with me until much later on, like when I got older, having the Kundalini experience, all these different things. And then I realized I was an interdimensional, and my children were too. And they have, my oldest son especially has experiences just like I do. He gets downloads. He's had his own Kundalini awaken, and we never have our physical face-to-face contact, which a lot of people don't have, but we do. We don't have them together. And they explained to me why that would never occur. And they showed me an example of that. They sent us to Mexico, and we were staying at a cabin, and they instigated the whole trip and downloads telling us to go there because they wanted us to meet an indigenous tribe, the Zapotec, and they wanted us to see a race that was at their point of ascension, and basically it plummeted because their younger generation basically left their group, their tribe, their community, because they were so interested in materialistic things and technology. So they wanted us to learn a lot of different things. Also, they wanted us to experience. My son went out in the woods with the Zapotec. They are the most eco-friendly, and they have an understanding of their connections with nature. And so my son learned many, many things. But the reason why they will not let us go have these experiences at the same time is because of the mother-son bond that we have here on earth, our human consciousness. I am too focused on what he's feeling and doing, and he is the same way. When they come for me, he's trying to get up, and they put him in a sleep paralysis. They know everything about us. They are telepathic. They are a billion years ahead of us in evolution. They know everything, and they know that we would not be learning what we're supposed to be learning if we were focused on each other's well-being, or, are you okay? All these different things. So everything they do, it is for a higher purpose. And that's what people don't realize. And a lot of the things that their interactions throughout time have been misinterpreted, because we are programmed from the minute we are born to have fear. We are born to think everything around us is negative. And because human beings are negative creatures, we assume all other beings in higher dimensions are as well. And that is not true. They are a billion years ahead of us. They've been through this and seen many other races go through this evolutionary stage that humanity is going through. And they understand, and they know we have to work on our fear. Fear is what's holding us back. Fear is what we have to work on. That's what I had to work on, to understand and have more conscious time. And another beautiful thing is that as we raise our frequencies, that puts our human frequency will go up to higher, like fourth, fifth, whatever. We will move up in higher consciousness, which puts us closer to their level. Because for me, it's never been what they look like. Never. It is the frequency exchange between a human being and a interdimensional, which is of a higher consciousness than extraterrestrials, and they are of higher consciousness. So it is the frequency exchange. When you're face to face with them, it is how your body feels. It is the frequency, and your body has a hard time understanding this because we do not experience these feelings here on earth. So naturally, it's embedded in our DNA. We have that fear or flight in our DNA, and we think automatically this is not good, because our brain doesn't understand it. And most people have missing time or fragmented memories. And that is because they are telepathic. Everything that we feel, they feel it tenfold. They feel it 10 times. They don't like these feelings. They don't experience negativity or sadness or fear in their reality. So they will black us out, tap us out. You've heard of people talking about that, and I've mentioned it, that they black me out when I watch my children, because they are here for a purpose and a task. This has always been something for a higher purpose, and we just misunderstood a lot of it. I'm not saying that what people have said is not real. Fear is real. We are human beings. We are scared of everything that is different. Those feelings and their stories are real. That was their coping mechanism at the time that it occurred and happened to them.
Yeah, when I had when I had an encounter with the interdimensional being, and I've told this a million times for my audience, so I'm sorry if you've heard this before, but I wanted to talk about it with you to see what you say about it. Is like I was 14, it was the 80s, so there was no source of light coming from anywhere, and it was the color of that rim around the is that the earth right there? Yeah, that rim around the earth. It was that color, and it was a big blue orb, and it was as clear as day in front of me, like going back and forth like Tinkerbell kind of, and like looking at me curiously. And it had a friendly energy, but I didn't know what it was. So I was afraid and I screamed and it just shot straight up in the air and disappeared. And then my mom came running down the hallway to see what was wrong. And she's like, I'm sure you were just imagining it or something. And she's open to this, but I don't know if she was just trying to calm me down. So I was afraid, but in hindsight, it was actually a very friendly being and it was not there to hurt me at all. It was there to, I don't even know, protect me, show itself to me, maybe help me remember something. And just, I think, let's see, was it maybe like 2 years before there was a UFO in our, in our backyard that I saw too. And now I'm sort of wondering, were they there for me or was this just like, I'm like, oh, look, there's this craft in the backyard that I thought was a helicopter, only then I realized it didn't make any sound. And then it just as soon as I saw it and kind of was talking about it because I was on the phone with a friend and I was going, hey, there's something in the backyard and it has like a tripod and I think it's a helicopter, but it's not moving. And then all of a sudden it just went psh, and it was gone. And so these are the two experiences I've had that at the time didn't make sense to me. And the UFO didn't scare me, but it was just kind of curious, like what just happened? So I think that too, with all the movies we saw growing up, and I think E.T. was actually a great one where it showed how humans are misinterpreting that
Yeah.
they're here to love, they're not here to hurt us. And that was Elliot represented, the good and so I'd love to just hear you kind of talk about that, whatever comes to mind. It's not really a question as much as just thoughts, experiences you've had.
This happens with just about everybody, and a lot of people dismiss it, but that is their way of introducing themselves to you. They're telepathic. They can sense whatever you're feeling. So they will understand at what level of understanding you are. And if you are at a higher level, then they'll probably have more interaction with you. They do not ever want humans to be scared or afraid. It just happens because of the frequency exchange. It's just a natural occurrence that we humans have. So that's why a lot of times they will project themselves in a different image. When I was a little girl, if I was not feeling good or if I was, whatever reason, sometimes if my mother had read me a storybook to go to sleep, they can take those images from my mind and be the pictures that I saw in the storybook. Now, they are not changing themselves into that, but they are using images for my mind and I perceive it that way. So there's a lot of this that our human brain just cannot understand because they are a billion years ahead of us. There is nothing human about their reality, or our physics does not apply. They are so above our technology. And I'll give you an example. You and I are talking on our technology. I'm on a laptop, you're on a laptop. We carry our technology as a separate entity. In their reality, their consciousness is their technology. It is not a separate entity. They can do and manifest anything. That's why we cannot fly their craft. Their craft are living conscious beings. Their consciousness meets up with the craft. The pilot simply thinks the destination and they go. They don't use our physics, our propulsion systems, or anything like that. So that's a big thing, is that we have to understand there's no human eyes in any of this. And if they wanted to harm us or do anything, they were here long before we were. And they played a part in everything on our planet being created here. They do not claim to have been, they believe in a creator source, and they all have souls. So they do not claim, that again, that is misinterpreted. We saw it all wrong, and they explained another thing to me about why the interdimensionals, are more luminescent, more like shiny, they're not so much the physical beings like, say, the Greys or any other beings, or reptilians, Nordics, aquatic beings, etc. And the reason for this is how they explained it to me. If they were to teleport you and I down to biblical times, when they were talking about the shiny ones in the Bible, it talks about the shiny ones to those people at that biblical time, because they're at a lower level of consciousness and their understanding and awareness is way, just not like ours, like we are today. They would see you and I as the shiny ones. We would be the shiny ones to them. So that makes a lot of sense to me. It's unfortunate, but we have just, things have been written. There's so much misinformation. And that's why I think it's important that everybody look within, because our soul knows most of these things. And I think it will start to surface as we go higher and higher in our ascension. We will understand more. We will be more aware, and we will start to see them in our skies more and more. They are not hiding from us at all. They are all over our skies. They are all over our solar system. With this, in this 3D realm, we simply can't see it. Yeah.
Yeah. When you had your first experiences, just to kind of give people an idea of how, I know they'll be curious. How do you experience it? So in the movies, you get sucked up in this little light and you get popped onto a craft, and there's all these experiments and there's all these like blobs in floating
That's
bodies and
true.
stuff. And but
Yeah.
I know we talked about consciousness and telepathy, and so I'd like to know how
Okay.
you have experienced.
When I was little and throughout my life, at least up to the 30s, 40s, probably, I'm getting older. I lose track of time. But anyway, what they would do is, I have the ability, I know when they're coming. I can feel it, a frequency in my body changes. I know that they're coming. So that is like, I can either, that way they kind of know how I feel about it, because I've gone from saying, not tonight, I've gone from saying, oh, wow, I can do this. I've had different stages of how I felt about it. So what they do is they always send the interdimensionals, and the tall grays designed a gray hybrid, and they are not gray. The ones that come from me are a reddish brown, and she is a female, and I am bonded with her, and I love her, and she loves me. And I feel like she was with me in my interdimensional world. She was bonded with me there, and she just comes here. And she basically, they use hybrids to do this. They are biological, they are not robots, but they designed them to be able to come down and withstand the density on Earth. Interdimensionals and extraterrestrials, it is not comfortable to be in our density. So they created this group of hybrids to do the legwork. So when she comes down, I know she's there. And what she will do, she will use her consciousness or either a device, and she will run it up and down from my head to my toes to my head several times. And then I will feel my body will start to elevate. My body, if I'm on the bed, I will lift off, look down. I'm not in my bed. And then if I'm standing on the ground and she does it, then I start to float up, and I'm always holding her hand. And she would lead me through the ceiling, through a window, or through a door. And this was very, very hard for me to understand, especially when people say human beings can't do that. But now I understand. We are at a very low frequency. So what they were doing is changing my frequency, the atoms, I guess, in my body, or however you want to look at this, to match their frequency. And when they obtained that, that's how I was able to go up through a ceiling and through a roof. And I can remember looking around in the attic, seeing Christmas decorations stored up, the insulation, in my home, in the attic, in the home. But I never understood for the longest what all that meant. But now I do. And they were changing my frequency to match theirs. And so now I am at a higher frequency. So we don't necessarily always have to go through that process. And I think now it's more of a process of, well, I know that it's not necessarily like that, but it's more of a teleportation, because we're going a greater density. When they were doing that and floating up, usually at that stage, the craft was near. But if a craft is not as near, then it's like you have a strange feeling, and they will black you out for this, because It is unbelievably weird. It's like uh vertigo, extreme vertigo, because you're like spinning around and your body just feels like whoa. And a lot of times now, even they'll be walking me back to my bed and they're helping me to get in and stuff, but I still feel that vertigo. And I understand why they have to do that. I wouldn't be able to handle it as a human being. You know, they have to tap me out so that they can, because for whatever reason, they're there to teach me something, or it's some training that I don't necessarily have to be conscious for. It's up in my subconscious.
That's what I was going to ask. When they quote unquote take you, where do they take you? And do you not see it? Do you just know that you've left and come back and something happened? Or do you see them in it? I know you said there are times where you've been in front of
When
them.
I'm
Yeah.
on craft, I see it, you know, I become conscious. And then basically they are doing exams, but these exams are checking on my mental health. They are checking on my spiritual growth. They are checking on the stages of humanity's evolution. They are checking on my well-being, you know, and they have, for me, they have, and I'm not saying they would do this for all, because I wasn't interdimensional before I came to Earth. So there's not, I have no soul contracts or anything with any other, like some other people may have different contracts with the angelic realm or a soul-based realm. Mine is with interplanetary, interdimensional realm. So they can fix me, you know, and they've done a lot of things, you know, like it, and the way that they do their tweaking your body or fixing problems is nothing like what we think. It is all through consciousness, and they can go through, scan, and see anything in your body that needs to be done. And through their consciousness, they can fix it. There is no such thing as probing, or, you know, I don't even know where this all started, but they are way above that. And, you know, it breaks my heart that people have that fear and think those things. But I think what they tell me, be patient, let evolution run its course, and that will make it easier for people to understand, because they're going to become more intelligent and they're going to realize these things. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard. I've been. Have you seen Encounters on Netflix? It's a really well done. It's so good.
Yes.
I wish everyone. I've been trying to get everyone to watch it because it's so grounded, and it's also filmed beautifully. It's just shot on film, so it's a lot more grounded. It doesn't feel like sensational. It feels really documentary style. And one of the things that I really remember was when they talked about the nuclear plants sort of, I don't know, melting down. That's not the technical
Shutting
term.
down. Yeah.
Shutting down, that they noticed that there were alien craft circling
Yeah.
the power plant. So anything you'd like to say about that and why,
Yeah.
what they're doing and how much power do they have to interfere?
They can do anything they want. And
Yeah.
here's how it works. We are important. We are like children to them, but they see our planet Earth as a living conscious being. They see every single thing on our planet, the rocks, the insects, our air, our water, our coral reefs, you know, indigenous people. They see everything that we never think about as human beings. You know, we think everything is about us, but there's so much more living on this planet. And when we start playing with technology, not only could it destroy us, but it would destroy our balance of our planet, the balance of our environment and nature. And it will rip it out into the universe and affect them and other planets. And we only think about ourselves. But the thing that they really want people to understand is that we are all connected. When we were all created here to support each other. We were designed to be one, unified. These programmed ways have separated us and keep us in division. That is the number one reason that these negative forces have done this intentionally, to keep humanity separated. Different, different religions, different languages. This goes way, way back. This is nothing new. This has been going on for eons, decades, whatever far back you want to go, because it's been happening a very, very long time. And these things and these behaviors were not our fault. This is from the minute we were born. We were programmed to think and live this way. But the difference is we are waking up and we understand that these old program ways no longer serve humanity. Our technology is to the point where we need to be in control of it, keep it as a man-made tool. The minute that it gets into with the wrong forces, we are in trouble. We are in trouble. And they will not allow us to destroy our planet or all living creatures on it, indigenous people, people that are even in countries where their leaders are playing around with this technology, making threats. They're innocent bystanders. Extraterrestrials and interdimensional look at all these things, take them in consideration because this is a worldwide phenomenon. They have to address it as a worldwide phenomenon. So again, we cannot humanize and think that we know or understand their thinking because they are way above us. They see the real picture that things that we overlook. But the beautiful part is we're going to start waking up. We are.
Yeah, I hope so. And I know that a lot of people ask, well, why didn't they interfere with Hiroshima? Why aren't they interfering in the Middle East? Why are all these things allowed to happen? And just love to know what you think about that.
Absolutely. We human beings are here on free will. We all made a choice to be here on this planet, whether we remember it or not. And different people have different soul contracts. They make choices, how long they're going to be on this planet, what they're going to experience. And I know this goes really, really deep, but I think as our awareness increases, people are going to understand. We all chose to be here and we all came with a purpose. Is your purpose here to change our world and be the stepping stones for future generations to have the human experience that we were meant to have? Or were you sent here to be the negative part of the negative factor that wants to keep us locked in a realm of destruction, negativity, wars? So that's why I keep saying we have to look within, figure out what our sole purpose is. And once we do, then we'll start getting the answers and we'll soon realize we really don't need the government to tell us anything further. They've already been having congressional hearings. The information is there for people that want to know. We are not alone in the universe. We have never been alone. And they have just been patiently waiting for us to understand who we are. Be the beings, be what you want to see in the world. Create your own reality. Start being a better human being. It all starts within. And when we start doing that, it will spread throughout humanity.
Yeah, what do you know or feel or think about the future? Now, I know that all of these things happen over so many years in our timeline, because on the
Mhm.
other side there's no time. But you and our bodies are going to expire at some point, and future generations will continue to procreate. And I always wonder, there has been strife and conflict from the beginning of time,
Absolutely.
and so does it get better, or is it just this endless cycle of learnings and lessons? And it's just because when you said we are programmed, I believe we're so programmed to fear. The only reason what's happening in the Middle East or anywhere else, that's Ukraine, wherever, is fear. People fear other. They fear what they don't know, and their Korea, all these places, these leaders are in fear, masked as ego and confidence. But really, we're all in fear of what we don't know, what we don't recognize, the other person. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you think it's all kind of going.
We create our own reality. If all of our news and media, things of this is controlled by negative energy, negative forces, this is what they want us to see and believe. Half of what we see on the television probably isn't true. It's probably not as severe. We only see the negative things, and that's done intentional. The way they explain it to me, quit feeding into all that. It's kind of like a child. If your child acts ugly and you keep going along with it, they feed off of that energy, off of that fear and all those negative aspects of it. So if you quit participating in watching these things, That doesn't mean you forget and don't think some things are going on. It means that you are using your force, your energy to see the beautiful things in life. And all these negative things will have nobody to entertain at some point. And it takes humanity coming together and understanding this. They feed off of fear, they feed off of negativity. And when we learn, we are feeding into what they need to maintain this realm and control us. And we say, no, we're not going to live like this. We are going to change our world and be the human beings. We're going to see the beautiful things in life. And the beautiful part about that, we are all connected. So when we understand our connection with our planet Earth, our connection with all living conscious beings on it, our frequencies increase, and we are unstoppable because all these forces will be working with us because we are finally one. We will all be one. And this won't happen overnight, but it has to start within. And I don't know how long, because there is no such thing as time, like you said. In their reality, there is no such thing as time. But work on ourselves, try being better human beings, work on within, and then our family around us will pick up on it. Then our friends will pick up on it, and then it will spread. So it's just a different way of living and a different way of thinking. And when I have negative thoughts, which every human being does, that's just part of life, But what I do is replace it with 2 positive thoughts, because that's not the energy I want to pull around me. I want positive good. So we will find that a lot of our friends and a lot of our family may not be progressing like we are. That doesn't mean you don't love them. It just means that you're going to walk away. They're going to figure out, golly, what is going on with all these people? And they're eventually going to sway over because they're going to want to be a part of something that feels so beautiful. When we raise our frequency, the closest thing I can say that it feels like, you've heard runners that run great distances and they get that euphoric feeling. When you raise your frequency, it's a euphoric feeling. It feels good. And your brain and your body responds to that and wants to be more like that. So we just have to be patient and let evolution run its course, because we are part of an evolutionary cycle and we are going to experience beautiful and wonderful things. And we have to get past our fears and the program thinking, and reevaluate some of these things that we have been told.
Yeah. I mean, it just feels so overwhelming with, seeing so many people taking that wrong path because they were taught to hate others from birth. And from the I've had this conversation a lot about souls coming in here, coming into these bodies, having these experiences, and we have free will. So we are subject to trauma, we're subject to indoctrination, mental illness, and all kinds of things that make us not think right. And therefore, we have so much strife and division and fear and anger. And it's really sad because we live in a beautiful world, and
Yes,
people are beautiful, and connection is everything, but so much of that gets lost. And that's the tragedy of it all, is the scariest thing in this world is other humans. But
absolutely.
that's why there's the whole, with women, would you rather run into a bear or a man if you're alone in the woods? And we all say bear, because we know the bear isn't out to vindictively hurt us, and a random kind man may not either. But the risk of, if that person is in incorrect thinking, the consequences are worse. And so
Absolutely.
it's encouraging to hear what you say. And how often would you say now, do you kind of just wait for them to contact you, or do you actively now have a
Every
dialogue
single
with?
day, I am
Yeah, I was.
direct communication, because our world is changing. I'm interacting with more and more people, and different questions are being asked. And I have to be prepared. So I constantly am in contact with them, asking them to help me, step in, give me the guidance, step in, give me the assurances I need, and to be able to make this explainable to all. I don't want to come across as being egotistic. I don't want to come across as being like I'm trying to be more intelligent, because I'm not. I am simply speaking from my heart. I am gaining nothing from this except that this is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel good as a human being, because I have seen how beautiful our lives can be, how we can go down in history as being the generation that made the changes that humanity needed, because we're at a point with our technology that we have to make some changes. We have to. And we
Yeah.
have to wake up and understand that we're all a part of this. And that's why I keep saying all of us are the disclosure. We are the disclosure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so interesting too to be watching a lot of these shows now about the government has so much information that they're not always sharing, which I understand because if they share it, people are going to take it and run with it. It can cause mass hysteria, can cause mass chaos. But there is this movement now of really like, why are we hiding this? This is our reality. I mean, this is actually, I'm not pushing it on anyone, but just if this is our
Exactly.
reality, why is this being hidden from us?
Because for our nation to stand up and say, we're not alone, their technology is a billion years ahead of us, for us to put our vulnerability out there to other countries and nations, they
Right.
cannot do that. They cannot do that. And if they know what I know, be impatient and let evolution run its course, and humanity will figure out a lot of these things on their own. And also, I think our James Webb telescope, if not has already found something, will find something. And maybe that would be an easier way for our government to present it to humanity, because then they're not having to say, because every time when they open that can of worms, there's going to be thousands and thousands of questions. And there's a lot of things they don't understand. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things I don't understand. And I'm in contact with them all the time. But this is big. This is big. I totally see why they can't just do certain things. And it's just like they're looking at it from a perspective of it has to be done in a slow, beautiful way, so that humans don't get overwhelmed, just like the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials and our creators do these things in a way that we can accept and understand without running around acting crazy, running around shooting and things. So there's a higher purpose to everything that's happening here right now with all involved, because they know, but I know, I understand. And I know a lot of people, they want demanding this, that, the other. That's not how the universe works. The universe is here for everyone, not just the people that are throwing their fist down. That's a negative thing. They're not anything to do with negativity. They're in a beautiful realm with peace, love, and war. This is a worldwide phenomenon. Everybody has to be ready. It has to be done this way.
Yeah, I understand that completely. So for people, I know that you said you know that you were an interdimensional being before you came incarnated into Nancy.
Yeah.
So how can we though, everyday people, connect with these beings, these interdimensional beings voluntarily? I know that there are different ways to do it. Is everyone capable of it? Will they communicate with just anybody? What do you think about that?
Meditation.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I'm talking about directly to them and with intention, full intention, focus on it, clear other sounds or whatever, full intention, speak directly to them and tell them who you are, what you feel, what you want to know. And there's many ways that they can approach a human being. It doesn't always have to be in physical like it is with me. It can be in dream state. It can be a download. It could be intuition. There's so many different ways. It could be something you see and you finally, it will connect that, wow, that was meant for me. And what people have to understand, just because something was meant for you to see, it doesn't mean it was meant for the rest of the world. So we need to quit trying to use our egos looking for things that we can prove to the world about these things, because they're not here to impress us. They're not here, you know, for any of those reasons. So make sure that you have your priorities straight and that your thinking is on a non-ego, non-profitable way, and that you're sincere, you know, from your soul self and your heart. I meditate to my inner self, my subconscious, to help me every single day, and it works.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Is there anything else that you want to say about what they want us to know? I mean, you really said a lot, but is there
Yeah.
anything? I mean, you kind of said it all, which I know they want the best for us. They want us to have
Well,
peace. They want us to find love, but anything else you'd like to say
yes.
generally?
When I was in Mexico with my son, and they took me outside into a forest there up in the mountains, and these people are called people of the clouds. They took their hands out like this and they said, everything is alive. Everything is alive. And then they showed me, they opened the vision of the forest, and I could see trees talking to each other, plants talking to each other, and mumbling, having their own little conversations about humans and how we do not realize our connection. For me, that was an opening experience, because we are all one and we are all connected. We just have to remember. And the beautiful part is, once we all become united, we are unstoppable.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Nancy, I really appreciate you coming on today. I'm going to have links to your website underneath. Is there anything else that you want to share about anything you have coming up, or talks that you're doing, or anything of that nature? Or is this kind of it, which is a lot?
Oh, I'm just going to keep going. This is just the
Yeah.
beginning of all this. And
Yeah.
so anybody that speaks English, I'm going to be on their podcast, or try to be, because this
We
is
appreciate
worldwide, and
Yeah.
I'm reaching out to the world. This is not about me. This is not about the United States. And we need to all work together in any way we can. However, get involved, you know, work on ourselves, but then get involved and learn ways to educate the rest of the world the best we can, without trying to lead a horse to water, because they're not going to drink unless, you know, they have to want these things. So yeah, get involved.
Inspire. I think, yeah, and I think that's what you're doing, is inspiring. And like I said, I really appreciate your down to earth, pardon the sort of pun, but your down to earth approach about it all. So I really appreciate you being here, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes next for all of us, and also to sharing this with my listeners. So thank you
Thank
again.
you. Thank you so much.